Hello. We are gathered here today to pay tribute and to celebrate Earth, Mother Nature, and being alive in general. I constantly find myself trying to convince people of how beautiful it is to get to be here and to just think that if we put a seed in the ground and food comes out, how how is that not magic? How lucky are we to get to live in a place where that happens? And being an environmental science major and like going to school for this is qualifies me to talk about this, but learning about the natural world and the connections that are happening and just learning more about it have literally saved my life. And honestly, I feel like a lot of us feel like something is missing, and that uh, all of us, all of us can benefit from learning about what's going on here. And I'm pretty sure that most everyone watching this and most everyone listening is from planet Earth. So it's relevant to you and everybody that you've ever met. I will be showing love to certain things, certain beings, organisms, um, conditions, and cycles that make life possible. And I will also be showing some love to our species because I know we need it, and it's kind of lacking. And then at the end, I'll have a little story to try to wrap it all together. Um, so I first want to give a shout out to the ocean, which is um, hugely responsible for regulating Earth's climate, as well as sequestering and absorbing carbon. And it also happens to be, other than the largest habitat on Earth, and like one of the coolest fucking things about this place, it happens to be the greatest source of oxygen production in Earth's atmosphere. And a lot of us may not realize or understand just how connected we are to the ocean, directly and indirectly, depending on where we are, or, who we are. But each of us has a direct relationship with the ocean and a direct relationship with phytoplankton and a direct relationship to whale poop. So, especially baleen whales. Baleen whales are depend on, really small organisms like krill and stuff. But their poop releases a bunch of iron into the ocean atmosphere, and phytoplankton rely on that nutrient, on that source of nutrients, and the phytoplankton are that which is responsible for producing oxygen through photosynthetic activity. So I want to give a shout out to the ocean. If you're, yeah, if you're ever there and you see stuff that can be cleaned up, please, by all means, help out. I want to give a shout out to plants, the plant kingdom, as well as the fungus and stuff. But they're kind of like, I think they're in a weird. I'm not really sure exactly where they fall. The fungi. I think it's like plant and animal kingdom. But I want to give a shout out to the plants and the trees and the flowers, which are the other major part of absorbing and sequestering carbon, as well as a huge part of oxygen production. And it's just cool that like trees and plants and stuff are living organisms that other living organisms call home. And to just imagine if we, if our places that we lived in were alive, like how connected, how more special would that be to us, instead of, we're kind of removed from that. And yeah, plants and trees are just, they're cool. They have this relationship with the microorganisms in the soil and the mycorrhizal networks and such. Cool stuff to learn about. But forests also play a role in the water cycle, which is my next shout out. I want to give a shout out to the water cycle, man. Earth's bloodstream. The water cycle carries nutrients and minerals throughout the planet, and we're still like, where did water come from? The fact that it is an element that goes through all the states that it goes through, solid, liquid, gas, vapor, is nuts. It's crazy. And if what we believe to be true is true, and that all the water on planet Earth is constantly being recycled and none is going in or out, then it would be true that the water that we're drinking is the same water that dinosaurs drank, and that there's this continuation of history, of existence that is flowing through us constantly, just like the Earth body. Our bodies are having the benefit of water transporting nutrients and minerals, as well as electrical signals and everything else that water does in the body, and that connects us to the water. There's no way that we're not connected to it, which means there's no way that we're not connected to forests and trees and plants in so many different ways, but through the water cycle we are. And then even to the ocean. It's there's a relationship there, and there's a relationship there and a connection there to tap into, especially if we're aware of it and we're thinking about it. I also want to give a shout out to the seasons of Earth. Um, if you watch a sped up time lapse of the seasons of Earth, it looks like inhalation and exhalation. It looks like the Earth is breathing, and a lot of that is responsible. Um, a lot of that is uh, caused by the sun and the relationship that Earth has with the sun. Of course, like the tilt and the angle and stuff also is playing its part. But the sun, which is my next shout out, the sun is this non-Earth element that seems like, if we didn't notice everything that the sun um, contributes to, we would just think it's just a thing that is unrelated to us, when really the sun is, in collaboration with water, responsible, as far as we know it, for all life on the planet. And that, when you start thinking and learning about that stuff more, it's like, how are we not connected to that? How is that not a relationship that we can tap into and feel more, closer to everything, filled with everything, related to everything? My next shout out is to our species. And humans definitely give themselves a bad reputation. But, I mean, I think we need a lot more love, man. And it's so obvious that we do, because we think of ourselves as trash. A lot of us are currently in, or will go through, a stage of misanthropy, of hating people, just being resentful of our species. And I totally fucking understand that. Trust me, I do. I went through that too. And I just want to let anyone that hears this know that if you are in that stage of humans are a cancer or a parasite, everything would be better off without us, I just want to let you know that there is a place beyond that, and it's one where we realize and recognize how lucky we are to get to inhabit and be in charge and possession for a short time of this vessel, of this super sophisticated form that is able to, not just when wounded or injured, will automatically and immediately start going like, oh, I need to help, I need to like fix this, I need to heal this, without any conscious decision on our part, that it's there to it's wired for survival. It's there to help us. It's when in balance, when in harmony, when it's working properly, and we do have a responsibility to take care of this. And I would urge all of us to be more mindful of that, and to be more active in implementing that. That when it's working well, that it has our back. And I just want to like give myself a hug, because thank you, And that's just one of the things, like, that our body is so sophisticated, it's able to sense this world. And when we think of this world, if we really look at it, and if we really learn about it, there's I don't know how there's any way that anyone thinks that this isn't the Garden of Eden. And the fact that we are in this form to not just be able to sense everything and to really sense the heaviness and the light and the beauty and the warmth and everything there is to experience. But that we're able to consciously be aware of that, to think about the thinking of that is just, it's magic. It's beautiful. It does hurt a lot of the time. And being alive is a bittersweet type of thing. It's just no words for the beauty and the mystery that's happening here, and this, how sad it is that things have to change form and kind of go away, and how everything is constantly changing, and that we too will not always be capable in this form to experience all that there is to experience. So that's the physical aspect. Also, might as well talk about being an organism filled with organs that have their own functions that work together to keep the thing alive, to keep it going. It's like, for what? What do you mean for what? And we've sidetracked for what? We have definitely gone astray with the what are we here for what? And that all of our organs are performing their own functions, and when one organ is having trouble, that the others will work harder to try to compensate, to try to pick up the slack. And especially if it's a vital organ, the organism as a whole system, as an individual, isn't going to be able to survive a vital organ shutting down, even though the other organs are trying to do as much as they can to keep, their own individual functions as well as the function of the whole going. So that is just the physical aspect, and I think a lot of us, and I'm included in this because they're almost all my life, for over 30 years, I had never given really much thought to that, and never really felt how fucking lucky it is to be in this body, and that we're not going to be here forever. So that's the physical aspect of what I want to give a shout out to being human. This shit's crazy. I also want to help us remember that yes, we have created things and are capable of stuff that is very destructive, of stuff that is not productive and not helpful for the rest of life on Earth, or and for the future, any future of life on Earth. But we need to remember that we are capable of creating things that are magic too. We are capable of participating in this mystery of this magic. And one of these creations is musical instruments. And music already exists in the universe, But the fact that our species has created instruments in order to pick up on that, in order to interact with it and to connect with that and to capture it and to share it is it's beautiful, it's magic, it's something that we need to like remember. And I probably a lot of us understand that music has the ability to transcend the boundaries that it does, that a piece of music can make a bunch of different kinds of people feel and share the same feeling, no matter if they have completely different cultures or have completely different languages that can't connect in that way. That music has that ability, and that our species has done things and has worked toward producing something that can capture that. I also want to, point out that yes, science, we have gone astray with science too, of course, but there are things that our species has created in order to uh, seek answers of like how things work and how certain things are connected. Excuse me. And that there are things in this world that we can't see that do exist. And that our species has literally created instruments in order to see more. That although this sophisticated organ of sight is very special, that we have created another step to that in order to really see what's going on. The microorganisms in the soil and the ones in our guts are quite similar, and to this eye are not visible. And the fact that we have created instruments in order to see that, in order to learn what's really going on with our relatives, our plant relatives, and everything on land that needs the soil to be healthy and all that sort of thing, that we have created things in order to observe that. And that, as well as like telescopes and stuff, but also to just show us that we are, even with genetics, that we have created things to show us that we are connected to everything, that there is a relationship, whether it be genetic or just conditional or environmental, that there are connections and relationships everywhere, and that we are related to everything, not in just this world, but in the universe. And maybe a couple stories. Two little stories real quick. So a lot of people, hate wasps and think that what the fuck is the value of a wasp? They're like, they have this vengeful type of nature and they're scary, and of course I felt the same way. I was like, fuck a wasp, man. But having having this relationship with, with the earth more, and starting a garden, and growing plants and vegetables, and then having the caterpillars, just start eating the vegetables and getting frustrated with that, and not wanting to address this with poisons because that fucks everything up. But just getting frustrated with it, like, what am I gonna do? Just sit here and pick all the caterpillars off? Or just, what am I gonna do if I wanna if I want to be cultivating a garden and there's this natural thing that's eating it all up. And don't get me wrong, I fuck with caterpillars, man. Caterpillars are dope. Um, but when you're growing a garden, it's just like shit. But if you're out there and you're observing stuff and how things are going on naturally, you'll notice that the wasps are putting a cap on the caterpillar populations, that they are naturally taking care of the ecosystem that they are part of in a way that we, unless we had, learned it in some way, wouldn't we wouldn't appreciate. And of course we could learn that in a book or on the internet. Yeah, wasps are have this function in an ecosystem of taking care of caterpillar populations as well as birds. But wasps, you can learn that on the internet or in a book, and it just wouldn't be the same if you didn't have that connection to the earth with the garden and the caterpillars and the wasps. It just wouldn't. You learning something like that on the internet or a book is intellectualizing it, and it's like, okay, that's very interesting. But unless you are affected by that and have the relationship there to have your mind and your heart changed and have a shift within you, then it's just not the same. And I just wanted to like emphasize that, because where you can intellectualize it is one way of being, where it's just all up here and it's not, there's nothing shifting or moving in here. Or you can have that relationship and see what the dynamics are and how things connect and how you're connected to that. You are inherently connected to that, whether or not you see it or feel it or not. Um, the other story, the one that I was originally just gonna say was, so in my hometown where I grew up at my mom's house, there's a lot of life there. There's a lot of plants and vegetation, and we have a lot of animals. We used to have more, but we still have a lot. And whenever any one of our furry family members, our pets, dies, and it's a really, it's really, really heavy, really hard thing, just like any loved one um, passing away is. And whenever that happens, we'll prepare a place in the yard for them, and lay their body to rest and cover them with soil, and then plant native flower seeds on top. And that way, it's almost like we can still have a relationship with our loved one, just in a different form, because the flowers and plants that will grow from the soil where our loved one is laid to rest at is the flowers are gaining nutrients from their body, and they are themselves growing into flowers and plants, which we can take care of, we can have a relationship with, and this continuation of life is still there. And not only that, but the pollinators, the butterflies and the bees and the moths and stuff will come visit those flowers and pollinate them. They'll have that relationship with the flowers, and thus with our loved one, and thus with us, because we helped this come about. But those pollinators will then go and pollinate fruits and vegetables and flowering plants, which directly benefit us, which we consume, which then become a part of us, like our physical bodies and our nourishment. And so the whole cycle can be very apparent, if you're there to see it, if you're willing and open to let that in, and to actually actively participate in it. That we have the choice to tap into these connections that are there, whether or not we feel them. They are there. We have we have a relationship with the ocean, with the trees, with the organisms, with the animals, with our bodies, with the sun, with the rest of the universe. These relationships are there. And if we're ever feeling alone, or that something is missing, or that you're not connected to, you're not rooted in anything here, you are. Your your ancestors aren't just people. They're everything that has ever been. They're everything that has brought about the conditions for all of this to be possible. And then of course you will become an ancestor. So just remember that your choices do affect space and time, like in a whole bunch of different levels that we may not ever directly know. And that we have the choice to participate in these connections and to learn more about the natural world, or even the functions of our own bodies, or just the way things are happening, like to learn more and to follow your curiosity about things, is to directly learn about yourself too, because without all the other things, it's just like you just don't even realize. And so this was a preparation for a speech I have to give on Wednesday in my class, and it's now almost 32 minutes, and my speech is only supposed to be 3 minutes. So, yeah, definitely will have to cut that down, but I mean, not cut that down, that sounds terrible. I'll definitely have to, I guess, be very selective, even though I think it's all important. Anyway, thank you for listening, and show some love to one of our counterparts, one of our relatives today, if you can. Get outside, you know, or don't. Reading about stuff is cool too. Learning about stuff on your own is cool too. Just, yeah, it's good to also give it some substance. Anyway, thanks for listening, and see ya.